Imagine, if you will, sitting down to your morning coffee, turning on your home computer to read the day's newspaper. Well, it's not as far-fetched as it may seem. In fact, both local San Francisco papers are investing a lot of money to try and get a service just like that started. Science editor Steve Newman reports on one person already using the brand new system.
My name is Stephanie Brown, and I'm from Delray Beach, Florida. I got into photography as a kid, actually. Growing up, every year we went to Jamaica. Both my parents are Jamaican immigrants, and my dad often put a camera in my hands just to keep me busy. And the pictures that actually came from it, that was the most exciting part. I mean, I'm shooting film, oftentimes they're disposable cameras as well, so I had no idea what was coming out, and that's where I was really introduced to the magic of photography and that period of waiting and framing and just trying to make everything perfect in frame and try to tell a story and then remember it later, weeks later, after getting them processed at like Eckerd's or something. Installation art is something that I got into later on in life. It's something that's always been a part of me. I've always been interested in collage art and building and creating things. And I didn't even realize that installation art was a thing until I started to grow out of photography. Photography is definitely, it's in my bones, it's how I see. It's definitely the base of my art practice, and it still is till this day. But with installation art, bridging that with photography has been a great opportunity for me to create experiences for other people and be able to reach viewers in different ways. Sometimes a straight image is not always enough. Some of my biggest inspirations are photographers Robert Mapplethorpe and his, what's his brother's name? Robert Mapplethorpe. Can we do a quick Google search?
Yeah.
One of my greatest inspirations is Robert Mapplethorpe. A photography teacher of mine in high school actually brought in some of his work for me to see, and it immediately introduced me to nude photography. But not only nude photography is what was so inspirational about it, but it was the way that he worked with his figures and how he could transform the human body. And I was already interested in the human body, but I never actually thought about the fact how photography could be a way to manipulate how the body is shown and portrayed, and how that can just kind of steer the conversation and how we view bodies in different perspectives. So shout out to Robert Mapplethorpe for doing that for me. Carrie Mae Weems is a huge inspiration as well. I love the way that she puts her work together. That actually kind of led me to installation art as well, just thinking about how she installs her photographs and her storytelling images. Sanford Biggers is a recent inspiration of mine just because of how ballsy he is. And I want to be as ballsy of an artist as he is. I just feel like the work is strong and impactful, and learning from him and seeing his work has definitely been great to encourage me to push the edge and not be afraid of my own capabilities and my own art practice. The impact that I hope to make with my art, I think, is something that's continuing to evolve for me. The more I look back on the work that I've made thus far, I'm constantly unpacking what I've done and where I'm going. And something that I'm noticing is that there's this common thread of identity construction. And I think for me, at least in this point in my career, the largest impact that I would hope that my work, whether it's photography or installation art or public art, I would love for that work to make an impact on others in a way that encourages them to just think about how they construct their identity and who they are. I want to encourage people to question everything. Don't take anything for truth or for fact, and to challenge it all. And I feel like when we challenge the status quo and when we challenge what we've been taught in school or not taught in school, it just opens up new layers into not only who we are, but what our potential truly is. So the installation work, Do Not Bleach, was actually inspired by laundry care symbols. The project came out of research I was doing on advertising, particularly in the 1920s and 30s. And starting from that time period just kind of brought me to today as well. But that work was really rooted in looking at how people of color were utilized in ads back then for cleaning agents. It was a this or that, you know, you need this product so that your home is not black, but instead it's white. And in those ads I saw where, oh, there's something on me. In those ads is where I found that differentiation between good being white and bad being black, what's dirty and what's clean. And it made me start to think about how are we still using those connotations in advertisements today, and to not want to duplicate something that has happened in the past that was bad. I thought about how I could use these laundry care symbols to promote a more positive message, but also give people an opportunity to affirm themselves and take control of that identity. You know, we can't control other people's perceptions of ourselves, and we can't control other people's opinions, but we can pick and choose what we decide to allow to nurture us versus what's going to harm us. At this moment of time in my career, I definitely feel like I'm in this in-between of technically emerging artists and technically professionally working artists. And I feel like all of those titles are fuzzy and oftentimes don't really mean anything, but we become familiar with them because of the grant applications that we apply to, or the different call for artists. Then we're trying to look to see where we fit. But for me right now, I'm in this place where I'm very grateful for the opportunities that I have had to show. I'm very grateful for the network that I've built up. Just redoing my website recently, I realized I'm in this space where, okay, I've got really great work. There's more work that I want to do. How can I grow? How can I stretch and get a studio space so I can be actively working apart from just inside of my home, and not wanting to just wait on a studio space? How can I partner with other people or find other opportunities to speak, to gain advocacy for my work, and just get the word out there? Because oftentimes that's half the battle. There's so many artists, myself included, we can make the work and we can get into a couple shows, but for my work to have the impact that I want it to have, it needs to be out there. It needs to be seen. It needs to be experienced inside and outside of my community. So I guess at this point in time in my career, I'm definitely in that space where I'm looking to reach. I'm looking to really continue to broaden my network and see who else can receive my work, to not just get my name out there. It's not about my name. I feel like my work is bigger than me, but how I can get the work out there so I can start to have the impact that I want to have on people's lives. I don't actually have a particular lens that I'd want people to view my work in. I want people to see my work in whatever way that they're going to see it. I'm not interested in controlling perspectives, but instead I'm interested in offering perspectives and offering different viewpoints. I'm a big believer, especially with installation art, when we create experiences that they linger with people. And I'm finding that I'm very interested in the impact that that can have on a person. You know, you might go to my exhibition, Do Not Bleach, and you'll see the work and you might think something at that moment, and it might not resonate with you, you might not care about it, you might just think it was okay, but I'm more interested in what happens later. In those later moments, maybe you have a conversation with someone, you see something on television, and you're reminded of what you saw, you're reminded of the experience you had when engaging with my artwork. And I feel like that's the power. That's where shifts in perceptions can happen. That's where people can kind of connect the dots in their brains. And that's for all viewers, whether you're a person of color, white, it doesn't matter. Everyone's going to come across my work and view it differently, and I'm okay with that. I think it's important to leave room for that. I would love to collaborate with non-art spaces more. And I say that because, especially being in Atlanta, which is very creative, tons of art communities, I mean, it's everywhere, and I think that's really great. But I think, especially for exhibiting artists, and I'm interested in exhibiting art, we still have moments and spaces and institutions where not everyone feels welcome into that gallery space or into that exhibition space. And I'm interested in broadening that. I don't feel that my work is only for the exhibition goer. I think it's for people bigger than that. It's a much broader audience than that. So I'm very interested in collaborating with churches, stores, brands, advertising agencies. I just think that there's so many creative things that we could do that would, again, heighten that impact of my work. Not just get more eyes on it, but really play with a lot of the themes that I look at in my work, such as advertising and colorism and representation, and getting people to question their own identity as well. I think the current art culture in Atlanta is broad. I think there's a lot of things happening everywhere. I've definitely been taking my time to soak it in. I've lived in Atlanta for almost a year now, and I don't have any intentions of leaving anytime soon. And I'm very excited about just the possibilities that are here. There's just so much potential. I'm very excited about how the city seems to really encourage their artists, create spaces for their artists, create funding for those artists, and having your city behind you and behind a community like that is so important, because it's the only way that they're going to thrive, and that behavior and that creativity is encouraged. And that's a major strength for any city to have. I think the greatest advice I could give to any other artist is to just do it. Just do it. I mean, I could go on and on and on about all the naysayers I've had down the road that I'm going in. Yes, you know, they'll love your work, they'll be interested in it, but you'll always have that person that's like, so when are you gonna get a real job? And when are you gonna do something, you know, real with your life, as if art is not that. And I think it's important to learn, no matter what stage you are in your art career, eventually you just gotta turn off the noise, and you gotta follow your heart, and you gotta do what it is that you feel that you were meant or called to do. And I'm not saying that any bit of that is easy, but it's worth it. And if you're willing to fight for it, then you'll reap the benefits. You can learn more about my work online, www.stephaniebphotos.com. I am active on Instagram @createdbrown. That's where you can find me there. And I've got work right now up in Ocala, Florida at the Appleton Museum of Art. It's up until October 20th, 2019. So feel free to check that out. Reach out for me for prints, collaborations, whatever you'd like. I'm open.